So this is in response to one of my commenters, one of my viewers. I talked about millennials and Zoomers. Capitalism is not the problem. And you can't have sophisticated impersonal relationships without something like capitalism. In any other system, when you have government force that rules that system, relationships become more personal. It's not about hiring talent, it's about who you know. Okay, so all the things that people look at capitalism, that capitalism is bad because you got nepotism, etc. Those are actually the traits of the opposite system. When you have socialism, you have fascism, or whatever kind of statism, you get nepotism, you get inefficiency, you get corruption. Now, that's not to say that our current system doesn't have some of these things. It has a lot of these things in certain areas, okay? But it's not because of the capital. It's not because of individuals trying to create something, okay? It's not from an entrepreneur that started a business from scratch. It's not from somebody who takes their money that they've earned and put that money into something that they think is worth something or might be worth something, like investing in, hypothetically, a treatment or a cure for cancer, because they think that this product is something that could sell and that they can profit from this too. So it's everybody's acting in their self-interest to produce something that ends up being in the interest of everybody else. It's when government gets involved that becomes the problem. So you have, for example, the FDA. The FDA is a regulatory body that has a revolving door between corporations like Monsanto, for example, and this regulatory agency. And you have this connection, this special connection between government and this particular corporation. That's when the problems start. See, they can put out something like glyphosates that are known to cause cancer, that are known to cause all these other problems. It's like an estrogen, right? It's hypothetically one of the things that lowers the testosterone in men. And they spray it to kill everything else. It has an environmental impact. And, to do this GMO stuff that, there's quite a bit of evidence that shows that, at least in some cases, is absolutely not safe. I personally don't consume GMO foods if I can help it. So it's not capitalism that does this. It's the opposite. It's the government. It's the relationship between this particular corporation and the government. In a free market, you have a free flow of information. People look at this. They wouldn't depend on something like an FDA to tell them whether something is or not safe. You can bring it to say in a court to say that this medical procedure or this food did some kind of harm or is dangerous. But because you have liability protection that the government grants, you cannot do that. So why do I have this pencil? Milton Friedman was an economist, and he was a big proponent of capitalism, and he made a speech that says that nobody knows how to make a pencil. Something this simple, something very simple that we take for granted. Nobody knows, not any one person knows how to make a pencil from scratch. And it's not just something simple like a pencil, it's everything. Nobody knows how to make a computer from scratch. You're talking about the circuit boards that you have to have a high quality of sand. Okay, well, how do you get the sand? How do you extract it? How do you make the machinery that does that? So, in our advanced and complex world that no one person knows how to operate the whole thing. You need people's minds acting in their own self-interest to come together to, for their own profit motive, for their own self-interest to actually make all this happen. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any of this. So here we are, a pencil, right? You got graphite in the center. Well, that's got to be dug out of the ground. Where is that dug out? I believe in Chile, right? South America. There's other graphite mines, probably some in Africa. I'm sure here in the United States as well. But do you know how to dig out graphite? You got the wood. Now, the wood seems to be pretty straightforward. But you're talking about you need chainsaws. You need equipment to work the wood. Do you have all this equipment? Do you know how to make this equipment? Do you know how to run this, run it in such a way to make this result? I guarantee you hardly anybody does. It's only a relatively few number of people that have that expertise to do, not to mention the chainsaw, with the iron, you have to dig that out of the ground and do metalworking. That's another skill. You got this piece of metal right here. I think this is aluminum. Aluminum mines, I think there's some in Iceland. There's aluminum mines all over the world. But you have to be able to work the aluminum, how to process the aluminum. You got this piece of rubber at the end, which is a byproduct of the rubber tree, which grows in tropical areas, mostly in Southeast Asia. I think most rubber is produced in Southeast Asia. Those take time to grow. And you have to have a little bit of knowledge about how to grow them, but it's not that difficult. It's probably the easiest part. But still, you have all this talent coming together in a supply chain to produce something very simple like a pencil. Okay? Now imagine anything else. You take this right here, this cord, you got the rubber around it. Again, probably Southeast Asia, you got the metal. You got obviously the copper in here for the connectivity. You got to have knowledge to produce all of this, right? The plastic, that's oil coming out of the ground, how to refine it and how to process that, to produce that. You're talking about material science. That's a whole nother thing. And material science people are very, very smart people. But to read this comment, laughing out loud, okay, bro, be for real, boomer, and capitalism, and he's shaking his head. And he's saying that we need more capitalism. Capitalism is not the frickin' problem, dude. It's government intervention, okay? The corruption, those are the elements of the government intervention. Normally in a free market, if you ever done business before, when somebody's corrupt, you just don't want to do business with that person. Why would you invest your money that you've earned into somebody you don't even trust? Nobody does that, right? Nobody with a straight head does that. If they do, they lose their money. And that's the punishment. But really, I need you to really think about this. Really think about this. Instead of regurgitating things you've heard before, instead of thinking about it emotionally, think about it logically. Look around you. Look at this house. I'm living in this house. The things that I have in my house. This was built by materials. Have you ever done construction before? It's a skill set. I used to do construction when I was during the summertime when I was in college as a second job. Okay. And I mean, it's butt busting work, it's and getting up on ladders, getting on the second story. You know what I mean? It's hard work. It's somewhat rewarding. It kind of sucks too, because of the people you're working with. But, I understand that there are certain aspects of the world that suck. Actually, believe it or not, you have it better than your great-great-grandparents did 100 years ago. Really, I'm serious. You really do. I know that it's not as good in some ways as like the boomers. I mean, and we could talk about that, and I think about that too. And I think about what the solutions might be, but it has to start from you, and you got to start thinking, okay? You can't just think like other people, all right? If you do that, if you adapt to the dysfunction, you become the dysfunction. You have to be better than that.